The alien jungle was alive with danger. Strange sounds echoed from the shadows, growls, clicks, and the hiss of unseen creatures. Giant trees twisted toward the sky, their roots crawling like snakes across the ground. Bright flowers glowed in the darkness, hiding sharp teeth inside their petals. Among the shadows moved the Huntress. Her body was lean and strong, covered in light armor made from beast hide. Her eyes were sharp and golden, scanning the forest for movement. She was the best hunter of her clan, feared by her enemies, respected by her people. Tonight, she was tracking the deadliest predator on her world, the bloodmaw beast. Few had seen it and lived. Its fangs carried venom strong enough to kill a full-grown warrior in seconds. She had been on its trail for hours, moving silently over the mossy ground, avoiding every broken twig that could give her away. But then, she heard something strange. Footsteps. Not the four-legged steps of an animal, not the heavy stomps of an armored alien, but something slower, steady, calm. She crouched low, blending with the shadows, and watched. Through the thick mist came a figure. Tall, broad-shouldered, walking with no sign of fear. He carried only a simple spear and a small pack on his back. No armor, no poison darts, no energy shield, just his bare arms and quiet steps. The Huntress frowned. No one walked here without protection. Even the bravest warriors of her people stayed far from this hunting ground. Whoever he was, he either didn't understand the danger, or he didn't care. She decided to follow him. Her movements were like the wind, silent, invisible. She stayed far enough that he could not hear her, close enough that she could study his every step. He moved differently from any hunter she had seen before. His eyes scanned the ground, then the trees, then the distant shadows. He stepped only where the moss was thick, avoiding dry branches and loose rocks. He was not just wandering, he was hunting. The Huntress felt a strange mix of curiosity and unease. She was the predator here. She had been born in this jungle. Yet watching him she felt like prey. A sudden roar cut through the night. The sound was deep, powerful. It could only be the bloodmaw beast. She expected the stranger to run or hide. He didn't. Instead, he slowed his steps, gripping his spear loosely. His body shifted slightly, as if preparing for something. His breathing stayed calm. The Huntress's heart beat faster. She had spent her life chasing the most dangerous prey, but now she felt a strange pull. She wanted to see what this human would do when death stepped out of the shadows. She stayed hidden, ready to watch, and ready to kill the beast herself if he failed. But deep down, she had a feeling. This hunt was about to change everything. The bloodmaw beast stepped out of the mist. Its massive body was covered in thick black fur, wet from the jungle's heavy air. 6 legs dug into the ground like claws of steel. 2 glowing red eyes locked on the human, and its long fangs dripped with venom. Each drop sizzled when it hit the ground, eating into the soil like acid. The Huntress stayed hidden in the branches above. She had hunted this monster for weeks. She knew its speed, its strength, its hunger. One wrong move, and even the fastest warrior would be dead before they could scream. The human didn't move back. He just stood there, watching the beast as if studying it. One hand gripped the spear, the other relaxed by his side. His breathing was steady. There was no fear in his eyes, only focus. The bloodmaw roared, shaking the trees. Birds scattered into the night sky. The ground trembled under its weight as it charged, faster than most eyes could follow. The Huntress tensed. She knew that once the beast attacked, there was no stopping it. But the human waited. Closer, closer. At the last possible second, his body shifted, smooth, controlled. He stepped to the side, avoiding the beast's snapping jaws by inches. His spear moved like lightning, stabbing once, deep into the chest. The beast screamed, stumbling forward, then collapsed with a heavy thud that shook the ground. It was dead. One strike. The Huntress's eyes widened. This wasn't luck. This was skill, perfect timing, perfect aim. Even her people, trained since childhood, would never dare to face the bloodmaw head-on. The human crouched beside the fallen beast, touching the fur with respect. He didn't cheer. He didn't brag. He simply checked the wound, then cleaned his spear on the moss. The huntress felt something strange in her chest. It wasn't fear. It wasn't anger. It was admiration. She had thought humans were soft, unskilled, just another race trying to survive in the galaxy. But this man, this hunter, was something else. The human stood, scanning the jungle again. His eyes passed over the tree where she hid. For a moment, she was sure he had seen her. Then he turned and started walking deeper into the jungle. She followed. The kill had only made her more curious. Who was he? Why was he here? No one came to this part of the jungle unless they had a death wish or a reason. As the two moved through the thick mist, the huntress felt the rules of the hunt change. She had started this night as the predator, but now, she wasn't so sure. There was something dangerous about him, not just in his strength but in the way he moved, the way he thought. And she knew one thing for certain. This human was not finished hunting. The jungle grew darker as the human walked on. Thick mist wrapped around the trees, making shapes that seemed to move in the corner of the eye. Somewhere in the distance, a predator howled, its voice echoing like a warning. The huntress followed silently, her bare feet moving over roots and moss without a sound. She was sure he didn't know she was there. Her people had hunted in silence for generations. No prey had ever escaped her notice. Still, something about him felt different. His pace never slowed, yet he seemed to know exactly where to step. He avoided loose stones, never brushed against dry branches, and somehow always kept the wind at his back so his scent would be hidden from predators. She narrowed her eyes. Perhaps it was instinct, or perhaps he was just lucky. To test him, she picked up a small stone and tossed it far to his left. It landed in the brush with a sharp crack. Most prey would turn their head, startled. Some would panic. The human didn't. He shifted slightly, as if adjusting his balance, then kept walking. But his head tilted ever so slightly, just enough to tell her. He had heard it. She tried again, this time snapping a thin branch under her foot. The sound was faint, but in the silence of the jungle, it carried. He stopped. The huntress froze, hidden in the shadows of a wide tree trunk. His head turned slowly, scanning the mist. For a moment, she thought his eyes locked on hers. But then he looked away and started moving again. She let out a small breath. Maybe she had imagined it. Then he was gone. Her eyes widened. Just a moment ago he had been walking in plain sight. Now the path ahead was empty, only the mist curling between the trees. The huntress moved forward quickly, scanning for tracks. Nothing. No footprints, no broken plants, no sound. A whisper of movement behind her made her spin around. Too late. A hand gripped her shoulder firmly, not hurting, but strong enough to stop her cold. She turned her head and found herself staring into his eyes. "You're following me," he said calmly. His voice was low, steady, with no trace of fear or surprise. It was the voice of someone who had known she was there from the start. For the first time in years, she was caught off guard. She, the best hunter of her people, had been hunted. He released her and stepped back, his gaze holding hers for a second longer before he turned away and began walking again. The huntress stood still, her heart beating faster than she wanted to admit. She should have been angry. She should have felt humiliated. Instead, she felt something else, respect, and a growing need to learn more about this man who could turn the chase so easily. From that moment, she knew this hunt was no longer about prey or predator. It was about finding out who he really was. The jungle seemed quieter now, but the huntress knew it was the kind of quiet that meant danger was near. The mist hung heavy, muffling sound, hiding movement. The human walked ahead, steady as always, as if he trusted his senses more than his eyes. She followed, still curious, still unsure if she was studying him, or if he was letting her. A sudden screech tore through the silence. Came from above. She looked up and her heart tightened. Sky-wing predators. Their huge wings sliced through the mist, talons reaching down like knives. There were 3 of them circling, diving. These creatures could snatch a full-grown alien into the air and tear them apart before they hit the ground. The first one dropped toward the human. She opened her mouth to shout a warning, but he was already moving. His spear swung up, blocking the talons. The predator's scream echoed as it swerved away. The second came for her. She rolled to the side, pulling her curved blade free. The talons scraped the dirt where she had stood, leaving deep grooves. There was no time to think, only fight. The human moved like water, each step flowing into the next. He ducked, spun, and struck with precision, never wasting emotion. She had fought alongside her own hunters many times, but this was different. He didn't fight with her style, yet every move matched hers perfectly, as if they had trained together for years. The third predator came from behind, aiming for his back. She leapt forward without thinking, slashing at its wing. Blood sprayed, and the creature tumbled into the undergrowth. He turned to look at her, his eyes calm but sharp. "Nice cut," he said. She almost smiled. Almost. The last skywing dived at him again, its beak open wide. He planted his feet, raised his spear, and let the creature impale itself. With a heavy twist, he pulled the weapon free, and the predator fell lifeless to the ground. The huntress breathed hard, her chest rising and falling. She was sweating, her muscles burning from the fight. The human? He stood as if nothing had happened, only a faint mark on his arm where a talon had grazed him. "You fight well," she said at last. He gave her a half-smile. "Earth teaches you that, if you want to live." "Earth?" she repeated. She had never heard of it. He didn't explain, only started walking again. The name stayed in her mind, heavy with meaning. For the first time, she wondered if she had been wrong about him. This man was not just a skilled hunter, he was something rarer. Someone who faced danger not with fear, but with calm, and won. And now, she wanted to see just how far his skill went. The night grew colder as the jungle sounds faded into the distance. The human finally stopped in a small clearing where the mist thinned enough for the stars to peek through the tall branches. He dropped his pack and began building a fire with calm, practiced movements. No energy tools, no alien tech, just dry wood, flint, and steel. Soon, a small flame crackled, pushing back the darkness. The huntress stepped into the light, watching him work. She had followed hunters before, but none who moved like this, efficient, focused, never wasting a second. "You knew I was behind you the whole time," she said. He glanced at her but didn't answer right away. Instead, he handed her a strip of dried meat from his pack. "Eat. You'll need your strength." She hesitated, then took it. "You fight differently," she said after a moment. "Not like my people. Not like any I've seen." He looked into the fire, his face calm but his eyes distant. "Where I come from, the jungle is worse than this. Everything is trying to kill you. Plants, animals, even the air. You either learn fast or you die young." She leaned forward. "Where is this place?" "Earth," he said simply. The word was strange in her mouth as she repeated it. "Earth? I have never heard of it." "You wouldn't," he replied. "It's far. And we don't send many of our kind out here." She studied him. His voice carried no pride, no bragging, just truth. He didn't speak like a warrior trying to impress. He spoke like someone who had seen death so often that it no longer scared him. "What brought you here?" she asked. He poked at the fire with a stick. "I heard stories about your jungles, about the blood-maw beast. I wanted to see if the legends were true." Her eyes narrowed. "So you came for a challenge?" He gave a small smile. "Maybe. Or maybe I came to see if your kind are as good as they say." The huntress felt a flicker of something in her chest. Annoyance, but also excitement. Was he testing her all along? The firelight danced on his face, highlighting the scars along his forearm. She had seen many scars before, but his were different, thin, jagged, some looking like burns, others like deep claw marks. "You've fought many beasts," she said. "Beasts, men, things I don't even have names for," he replied. "Surviving is just another day where I'm from." She sat back, the warmth of the fire mixing with the heat of her curiosity. This human was not just a hunter, he was something more. Something that made her want to see how far he could go. And deep down, she realized something else. He had already started hunting again. Only this time, the prey wasn't a beast. It was her. The fire burned low when the first tremor shook the ground. It was faint at first, like a distant heartbeat, but it grew stronger, heavier. The human was already on his feet, spear in hand. The huntress rose too, her blade drawn. She knew that sound, every hunter in her clan did. Only one creature made the earth shake like that. The Jungle King, she whispered. From the shadows it came, a colossal predator, taller than the trees around it. Its thick scales shimmered like metal in the moonlight. Rows of teeth lined its massive jaws, each longer than a dagger. The ground split under its weight. The huntress had never planned to face this beast tonight. It was more than a hunt. It was a war. Even her best warriors would need an army to bring it down. The human didn't move back. Instead, he stepped forward, studying the creature as if deciding how to kill it. "You've fought this before?" she asked, disbelief in her voice. He shook his head. "No, but it bleeds, so it can die." The beast roared, shaking the clearing. Leaves rained down from the trees. It charged with terrifying speed for something so large. The human met it head-on. He ducked under the massive swipe of its claw, striking at the softer skin under its arm. The huntress moved beside him without thinking, slashing at the beast's leg to slow it down. They fought as one. His precision guiding her strikes, her speed covering his flanks. Each attack was dangerous, each miss could mean death. The beast lunged for the human, its jaws closing around where he stood, but he rolled aside, driving his spear into its eye. The creature screamed in pain, thrashing wildly. "Now!" he shouted. She leapt high, using a fallen branch as a springboard, and drove her blade deep into the beast's neck. Hot blood poured out, the smell sharp and metallic. The Jungle King staggered, then collapsed with a thunderous crash, shaking the earth. Silence followed, broken only by their breathing. The huntress landed beside him, her chest heaving, her hands still gripping her blade. She looked at the dead beast, then at the man who had fought like no alien she had ever known. Around them, other hunters had appeared from the shadows, watching, silent. They had seen everything. The huntress stepped forward, her voice steady but carrying through the clearing. "A hunter like that deserves to pass on his genes," she said. Gasps rippled through the crowd. In her culture, those words were not a compliment. They were an invitation. A choice. Promise. The human raised an eyebrow, his lips curling in the smallest of smiles. The huntress stood tall, her golden eyes locked on his. This was no longer about prey or predator. It was about what came next. The clearing still smelled of blood. The Jungle King's body lay in the dirt, its massive form already drawing scavengers to the edges of the trees. The other hunters whispered among themselves, their eyes fixed on the human. The huntress stood facing him, her golden eyes unwavering. Her words still hung in the air, words that, in her culture, were never spoken lightly. The human studied her for a long moment, his expression calm, unreadable. Finally, he lowered his spear and stepped closer. "That's quite an offer," he said quietly. "It is more than an offer," she replied. "It is a claim. We choose the strongest, the bravest. We keep our bloodlines sharp. And you?" She glanced at the fallen beast, then back at him. "You are unlike any hunter I have ever known." For a moment, they stood in silence, the crackle of the dying fire the only sound. The human tilted his head. "And what if I say no?" Her lips curved slightly. "Then you walk away. But you will walk away knowing that you refused the highest honor my people can give." He smirked at that. "Sounds like a challenge." She stepped closer, until the glow of the firelight touched both their faces. "Maybe it is." The other hunters began to drift away, leaving the clearing to them. Whatever this was, it was no longer for an audience, it was personal. The human sat by the fire, pulling a cloth from his pack to clean his spear. The huntress joined him, laying her blade across her knees. For the first time since she met him, her body relaxed. Not completely, but enough for her shoulders to ease. "You could have left me to fight alone," she said. "You could have left me," he answered. "But you didn't." She looked into the flames. "Perhaps I wanted to see how you fought when death was certain. And now that you've seen?" Her gaze returned to his, steady and sure. "Now I know that death was never certain for you." The night grew quiet again. The jungle seemed to hold its breath. Far away, the stars shone through the canopy, their light silver against the mist. She leaned back, her voice softer now. "My people will ask me if you are worthy. I will tell them yes." He didn't answer right away, only looked at her for a long time. Then finally he nodded. "Then I suppose I should stick around." The huntress smiled. A real smile this time, small but sharp, like the edge of a blade. The jungle around them seemed different now. Not as hostile, not as cold. Two hunters from different worlds had met in the deadliest place either had known, and instead of killing each other, they had found something else. Respect, and perhaps something more. The fire burned low, but neither moved to leave. For tonight, the hunt was over. But for them, the real hunt was only just beginning.